Hi, I'm Regina Brim from FroLiberty. If you've been following me, you've probably read a few of my articles, seen more than a few of my videos, met me at conventions, etc., etc. Last week, I had the privilege of being on a podcast called Now See Here, hosted by Mr. Jack Criss. Mr. Criss is a great friend of the Liberty Movement. I will have in the description links to that podcast. They are well worth a listen, and I do hope you will go over and have a hear. I made a mistake during the podcast. I was so nervous. The station that I'm featured on is MississippiCoastTV.com. Please go and check it out. We also have a page here on Facebook, and we are hosting nightly watch parties with our videos. Check it out. As always, like, share, subscribe, and if you can, contribute. Every day that somebody speaks out, makes a video, talks to somebody, discusses, it is one step further toward liberty. And that's what we're all about. Have a great day.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Now See Here, or as I call it, the professional version of Now See Here, because we are taping live at CC's Coffee House in Ridgeland, Mississippi on Highway 51. And we're joined by our technician and all-tech guru, or all-knowing tech guru, Mr. Roddy Merritt of Merritt Media. I'm Jack Criss, and thanks so much for listening. Today's show is going to deal with politics, race, and stereotypes. And our guest to discuss this has a very unique outlook on that, and I'll have her explain it to you. Her name is Regina Brim, and Regina lives on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. But Regina, before we get into all the things you do, you were born in New York, were you not?
Yep, in Flushing Hospital.
And what in the world brought you to Mississippi?
I was married for nearly 30 years, and my ex-husband was in the Navy, and we were in Okinawa, Japan, and our Twilight tour was here in Mississippi. So when he got out, our children were one going off to college, one entering high school, so just kind of stayed.
Well, from New York to Japan to Mississippi, I somehow that sounds backwards, but Regina Brim is a libertarian, and Regina is also African American. Now, that's why the topic of this show is politics, race, and stereotypes. Regina, I think today people in every political arena or whatever political discourse is brought up or used, people automatically assume that if you're African American or black, you're a Democrat or you're a liberal. Why don't you fit that? Yeah, why don't you fit that stereotype? And how in the world did you become a libertarian? And we'll talk about why there are really fewer African American libertarians, your view. But tell me about your political odyssey or journey.
I think I am very much like most Americans. I mean, I was what my parents were. My mom was and still is a lifelong Democrat. And when I grew up and I started voting, that's, what I followed. And then I got married and had kids and had bills and financing, and that kind of mentality and philosophy didn't quite mesh. And as my kids got a little bit older and started asking questions, and I was a Republican, that kind of philosophy didn't fit with how I thought. And you got to figure, okay, if the Democrats don't fit and the Republicans don't fit,
what else
is it? Yeah, what does fit? And I guess for lack of a better term, libertarianism fits my sort of outlook on things.
How did you discover libertarian thoughts, Regina? Because, I came to it through Ayn Rand. I know a lot of people come through it or have come through it through Ron Paul, the younger generation. How did you arrive there?
A very odd way, actually. My last Republican Party kind of event, I was still married at the time, and we were at a mixer and a question was asked. What do you think, if anything, we could do in this party to kind of diversify or reach out? And they went around the room and everybody kind of talked and everything. And they came to me. And unfortunately, if you ask me, I'm probably going to be pretty honest. And I said, well, I think the abortion issue is holding this party hostage. I think more people that have to deal with that horrible decision look more like me than anybody else sitting at this table.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what? I've done the foster parent. I've done the adoption thing. And I would stand with anybody who would adopt or foster a child regardless of race, creed, color, ability, or disability. And I heard crickets. And then the lady across from me just started, going in, just foul as can be. And I, unfortunately, am a very reactive person and went back just as hard. And that was the last time I went to a Republican mixer. And several months later, in the throes of my divorce, I am whining at somebody about, I carry a gun and, but, I believe we should help these people. And I believe this and believe that. And it doesn't fit. And he said, you know what? You sound like you're a libertarian. I was like, oh, no, I'm not, one of those pot-smoking, crazy people who don't believe in
anarchist
laws. Like, yeah. And he was like, that isn't exactly what libertarianism is. And I was like, really? And he said, tell you what, they're having a convention in your area in about a month. I'll pay for you to go. Pay for everything. If you don't like it, I'm wrong. We don't have this argument again. If you like it, you join on the spot. I was like, okay, I'm up for a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I went, and Danny Bedwell was the chairman at the time. And part of his speech was, you know what, I don't mind a spirited discussion. Heck, I don't even mind a good argument. But if your argument de-evolves into personal attacks and name-calling, I've automatically won my discussion, won my point, whether I'm right or wrong. And I went, I'm home. These are my people. And that was it. I've been a libertarian ever since.
That wasn't that long ago then, I suppose, Regina.
I believe, and everything kind of runs together here.
It does.
I believe it was 2011. I want to say 2011. So, my libertarian journey, whatever, is probably only about 10 or 12 years old at that.
Well, and I've
but
had...
if you believe everybody else, everybody is a libertarian and don't know it yet.
Don't know it yet.
I don't know.
Yeah, they take the Nolan chart test or whatever it's called now. This is the Now See Here podcast. I'm Jack Criss. We're talking politics, race, and stereotypes with Regina Brim. Let's get into that, Regina. Why does it insult you personally that if people automatically see you as a black woman, they're going to probably assume you're a Democrat? Don't you run into that all the time?
I do run into that all the time, but this is something that I've kind of dealt with my entire life.
Yeah.
And I don't sound like a New Yorker, or so I've been told. I have a non-accent accent. So I'll be speaking to people on the phone or something for a month, and then they'll meet me, and you'll get the, I didn't know you were, and I, of course, will play with it. Did you mean taller? Did you think I'd be blonder? And I know they mean I didn't think you'd be black. But it is, I guess, a spotlight on what we Americans kind of think about. If you are black, you are a Democrat. If you are white and you adhere to certain things, you must be a Republican. And that's just not true. I think that's a fail all across the board.
Well, do you have any ideas or thoughts as to why there are not more black people in the Libertarian Party circles? And I have to ask, is one of the reasons, or could one of your theories be that many people believe libertarians or think that libertarians are, let's say, have been painted by the media as being really far right nuts. That they're really racist in the skies. They hate government. They love guns. So they've got to be racist, closet racist. And libertarian is just a nice sounding word for racist white male.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons.
Well, libertarians, I think, are painted either in one of two things. Either we are the pot-smoking crazies, or we are Republican light, period. There is no kind of two little boxes libertarians seem to be put in. But I have found that if you sit down and talk to people, and, they do well, are you a Democrat? And you go, no. And you're a Republican, no. And then you start talking about it, and they go, I never would have guessed that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, we've been talking for about an hour, and everything I've said fits within what libertarianism is. You're like, I didn't think about that. And therein lies the problem. But
having said that, do you get blowback or flack from black friends? Do they say, how can you be with this group? Or do they hear your arguments and say, they may disagree with you, but they say, okay, that's understandable, that's reasonable?
If you are a friend of mine, you're going to say, okay, I may not agree with you, but that is reasonable. If you don't know me, I do get a lot of pushback, especially during the Gary Johnson campaign year. That was a lot of explanation, a lot of, conversation.
Yeah, because a vote for Johnson was essentially a vote for Hillary Clinton, you were probably told.
Yeah, like if we're going to talk about stereotypes, well, you're black. Why aren't you voting for the Democrats? Why aren't you in the Clinton camp if you're black? And I was like, really? Well, I could list the reasons. They were like, oh, okay. But, and again, it circled right back around to race. Not the issues, but it circled right back around to race. Well, which again, I think failed.
And you've put your libertarianism into action. I want to talk about what you have done and what you have started. But before I do, I want to ask you kind of a personal question then. Were you emotionally moved by the election of Barack Obama? I mean, because I actually was to a certain extent. And because of the historical nature, and I also saw the reaction of so many African Americans, and it did kind of move me. And I know a lot of Republicans out there are probably saying, what the hell, he's crazy to say that. But it did. It actually did. I got over it, quickly after about a week or two. But did it move you to see a black man, African American in the elected to the White House?
Well, I can answer that question in two parts. Number one, straight up, yeah, it did. I mean, I was like, wow, I did not think such a thing would happen in my lifetime. That's number one. Number two, Barack Obama, for me personally, at first glance was the dream. I am an African American who is married to a foreigner who became a citizen. So my children were Barack Obama. They were mixed children of an American mother and a foreign father. Mm-hmm. So, when my kids were like, I don't want to do homework, I was like, look, this dude is running for president. He is exactly what you are. You need to get in there and do your homework. I mean, in my mind, that was so much promise.
Right.
He was what my home life was. And then we started talking. And ruined every bit of that. I was like, oh, okay. And the promise, his initial promise for me that got me was everything in the government was going to be transparent. Everything was going to be different. And then it wasn't. So, I was like, okay, that's not going to work.
Yeah, it was the same old. It really was. I mean, And I have read books by Democrats who worked with President Obama, and so they were a little bit disappointed with him. But his presidency, in a way, I almost felt sorry for the man because he was damned if he did or damned if he didn't. Because I think so many Black Americans had him painted as another Martin Luther King Jr. But he had to, he had a balancing act. I mean, he succeeded. He did fine. He's okay. But I think he really had a lot of pressure on him. But away from Obama for a minute, tell us about FroLiberty, what that is, and also tell us about what you're doing on the coast on television, your television program.
Okay. All right. FroLiberty, let me back up a little bit.
And that's FRO Liberty. Yeah.
When I joined the Libertarian Party, and I've gone to a couple of conventions, I was blessed to be able to represent Mississippi in 2 conventions, one of which was the convention in Columbus. And there was the President's Dinner in which Judge Gray got up and spoke and stood up and looked out on the audience and said, there are no people of color here. There are no black people. And I was sitting in the audience going, what?
Here I am.
I am here, and I was sitting next to Danny Bedwell, and he was like, wait a minute, just slow your roll. I didn't say anything. But, it kind of got me thinking, there's a lot of that happens, that even people that are on, I guess, for lack of a better terminology, your same side, don't realize that you're there. They don't. When I go shoot at the gun range, there's me and I think 6 other people that are members of that gun range that are of African American descent or of African descent, period.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there weren't people saying the things that I wanted to hear that looked like me. And people need to know that liberty and freedom and all those rights that we stomp up and down are for everybody, not just for older white men. They are for everybody. And FroLiberty was born out of that kind of looking around and not seeing it, somebody that looks like me.
What is FroLiberty? Tell our listeners exactly what it is.
FroLiberty is a blog or vlog that I created to speak to things. Things that I felt that the liberty movement or the freedom movement didn't exactly address. Black people carrying guns, black females carrying guns. Right now in Mississippi, we're in the throes of a huge legalization issue. I'm speaking to that presently. Voter rights issues, voter access. Anything, like I said, that the system says that we can't do, that I feel, and a great many Americans, I think the majority of Americans, feel should not be the government's business, I try and speak to. So that's where I'm at now.
And how can people access this blog, Regina?
Okay. FroLiberty is featured on a number of platforms. I'm on YouTube under RJ Brim. I'm under Instagram under FroLiberty, Pinterest under FroLiberty, and Facebook under FroLiberty. Also, earlier this year, I was brought on as a contributor to Mississippi Gulf Coast TV. It is a local origination station that does Mississippi stories about law changes, events, issues that affect everyday Mississippians. And like I said, I've been blessed to have that opportunity.
Regina, we're going to be running out of time here shortly on the podcast, but I have to ask, I mean, you mentioned Danny, and Danny is a good friend of the show and a personal friend. Would you ever consider running for office?
I don't have the governor necessary to run for office. If you come at me kind of sideways, I meet that with equal force instead of, the politically correct, let me step back and give you a sedate answer. I come back just as hard. I absolutely support Danny Bedwell. I support any politician, period, that is for freedom and minimal government, but that path is not for me.
And do you think, because of your libertarian affiliation and the growth of the party here in Mississippi, it's slow, but it's steady, do you think we've come a long way, or have we progressed in Mississippi with dealing with racism, or do you think we sometimes flagellate ourselves and dwell on it too much?
Let me just say that Mississippi is where I choose to live and choose to raise my kids. And if you were here, especially during Katrina, there are no people that are greater and more giving. Period.
Yeah.
But we as Mississippians occasionally fail in recognizing and acknowledging our past. I'm not saying dwell on it. I'm saying we sometimes gloss it over. Like, oh, that happened, 30, 40 years ago. No, but it happened.
Yeah.
And people are still affected and people worry. So I think an acknowledgement of that history would go a very long way.
Well,
just my personal opinion.
No, I understand, and that's exactly what I wanted. Regina, it's been fascinating. We will have you back on again. And tell us one more time, the best way to get in touch with you or to access FroLiberty, the best way for those out there.
The best way to access FroLiberty right now, and the most content, is presently up on Facebook at FroLiberty. All you got to do is look that up on Facebook, or RJ Brim on YouTube. And I'm working on getting 2 or 3 videos per week up now.
Oh, good.
That's the goal.
And, of course, now you've been on Now See Here, so your career is just going to take off.
Hey, I'm
Believe it,
like
Regina.
I said, I am counting my blessings today.
Oh, well, yeah. Thank you so much. I'm glad someone is. Hey, it's Regina Brim, and she is a leading libertarian spokesperson in South Mississippi and Mississippi writ large. Regina, keep up the good work, and thanks for being on the show.
Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay, Regina. That's Regina Brim. This is Jack Criss, and thank you for listening to Now See Here. Again, we are at anchor.fm/Now See Here. We do accept contributions. I haven't gotten any yet. What the hell? What do I have to do? Not going to beg, but what's the song? Ain't Too Proud to Beg by the Temps. But no, we would appreciate that, and we appreciate you listening to the show. So we'll see you tomorrow. I'm Jack Criss. Thanks so much.